Episode 6. If Jesus abolished the Sabbath, why did he tell his disciples to pray their flight not be on that day? Key text, Matthew 24:20. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. If Jesus abolished the Sabbath at the cross, why, years before his death, did he command his disciples to pray that their escape from danger would not fall on the Sabbath day? In Matthew 24:20, Jesus says, But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. This was a direct prophecy about the destruction of Jerusalem, which happened in 70 AD, roughly 40 years after his resurrection. If the Sabbath was going to be abolished, irrelevant, or replaced by Sunday, then why would Jesus tell his followers to pray about not breaking it decades later? Because he never intended to abolish it. This verse destroys the idea that the Sabbath ended at the cross. It proves Jesus expected his disciples, even in the future, to continue honoring the seventh day. Let's break it down. Winter equals physical hardship. Fleeing in the winter meant exposure to cold, hunger, and death. So Jesus said, pray it doesn't happen then. Sabbath equals spiritual violation. Fleeing on the Sabbath meant breaking the commandment of rest, worship, and sacred time. So Jesus added, pray it doesn't happen then either. That means Jesus valued the Sabbath just as much as their physical safety. Now some say that was only because the Jews kept the Sabbath and the gates would be shut. But that excuse collapses fast. Jesus wasn't just giving logistical advice, he was giving moral direction. He was telling his followers, not Jewish rebels, to pray that they wouldn't be forced to flee on the Sabbath. This shows us that even after his death and resurrection, he expected obedience to the Sabbath, not as bondage, but as a holy, set-apart day that still mattered in the lives of his people. Let's take it further. Why would Jesus say, pray your flight isn't on the Sabbath, if the Sabbath was just a symbol he was about to fulfill? Wouldn't he have said, don't worry, the Sabbath won't exist by then anyway? But he didn't. He preserved it. He respected it. And he warned his disciples not to trample it, even in crisis. That one verse, Matthew 24:20, is a time bomb for Sunday theology, because it proves the Sabbath was not ceremonial. It did not end at the resurrection. It remained morally binding long after Pentecost. Jesus expected Gentile believers to still honor it. So here's the uncomfortable truth. If Jesus told his followers to pray they wouldn't have to violate the Sabbath, why are pastors today preaching that it doesn't matter? Who changed? Jesus or your denomination? If the Lord of the Sabbath, Mark 2:28, says it still applies, what gives any man the right to cancel it? Let me ask you directly. If Jesus himself warned against breaking the Sabbath decades into the future, will you ignore his warning to please modern theology? The same Jesus who gave his life to save you also gave the Sabbath to bless you. And he never said it was temporary. He said to pray you wouldn't have to violate it. That prayer still applies today. Because God's Sabbath didn't end in the tomb, it endures into eternity. And if Jesus expected first-century believers to respect it, he expects 21st-century believers to do the same.